elite migration. Now this remains pretty popular even with people who are skeptical of or dislike underclass migration or illegal immigration or chain migration or any of these other cases where it's obvious that we're bringing in people of low quality or potential who are going to be dependent or disruptive. So, but elite migration remains extremely popular, and that's bringing in, scientists and engineers and professionals and entrepreneurs, primarily from, the upper end of the distribution, the talent distribution in their countries of origin. Now, what are some reasons why we might actually want to be opposed to this, too? For one thing, it exacerbates the pressures that lead to any kind of migration. So it's been noted before that this leads to a brain drain from, emigration countries into, immigrant destinations, immigrant welcoming destinations, or immigrant chosen destinations. And so that exacerbates the disparities that lead people to migrate in the first place. So the brain drain, makes these shitholes even more shitty, and presumably it adds, as long as it's selected according to rational criteria, it adds to the economies of the destination countries and stuff. And so you have both the push and the pull, the shittiness in the source countries driving people out, and the relative, let's say prosperity and ease in the destination countries pulling people in. You exacerbate both of those factors. If you are actually choosing your immigration policy, and this is a lot of people, it has gotten to be kind of edgy, but still a lot of people hold a belief that immigration policy should be tailored around, maximizing economic production or something like that. That's the view of Stephen Harper, the former Prime Minister of Canada, and it seems to be the view of Donald Trump implicitly. He wants to accept legal immigrants, and especially talented ones, and the idea being that will improve the economy of the United States, bring in more innovators, bring in more producers, etc. But what this is going to do is it's going to increase the tension, the disparity between source countries and destination countries, more push, shittiness driving people out of the source countries due to, brain drain and the desertion of their high IQ upper classes, and pull, economic opportunity, pulling people in of all different types, not just the elite, high IQ success stories, outliers, whatever you want to call them. So that's one factor. Another factor is, our elites are treacherous enough. Our elites that we're related to, that we share history with, that we share ancestry with, are treacherous enough. And to be totally fair, we kind of dicked them over in the Enlightenment. That was like a middle-class uprising against the aristocracy and the elites. And, it was assisted by advances in technology like firearms and explosives, which, democratized warfare to an extent, and also made assassination a much bigger deal. So, these guys who used to be untouchable now were no longer untouchable. Like a peasant could blow them up or shoot them. And we overthrew their hierarchies, and we came up with all this Enlightenment bullshit, which, frankly, I think we can all agree has gotten out of hand. The Enlightenment bullshit has gotten out of hand. But it happened. It was like a middle-class revolt against the aristocracy. And now these people's descendants have been paying us back by going full pause, globo homo, Davos man, conspiring to flood our countries with foreign underclasses, and, replace us demographically. And just like, yeah, I get it, we dicked them over, but like, they're taking that a little bit too far, in my opinion. And they're playing the high and low against the middle strategy. They're part of that. And where am I going with this? Well, not going very far with this, but my only point is we have enough trouble with our own elites without importing foreign elites that have no shared history, no shared ancestry. Our elites are treacherous enough. Why do we want foreign ones? And, especially because they can import, they have a natural incentive to import lower classes from their backgrounds, from their countries of origin. Because, no matter how elite you are, or talented, or productive, or wealthy, or successful, or whatever, if you're a foreigner in a country where you don't have, historical or ancestral ties, you're a little bit of an outsider. And so these elite immigrants are, a little bit, they're outsiders to an extent. And, they can be natural leaders of their communities if they import a community of their ethnic origin, of their co-ethnics, of people from their country of origin. And so it's oftentimes going to be the case that it's more appealing to be at the top of a small hierarchy than at the bottom of a large one, right? So they have a natural built-in incentive to open the gates to more of their kind and less, exclusive and less selectively than we opened the gates to them. So they are foreign elites. We have enough trouble with the loyalty of our own elites without foreign elites in the question. The foreign elites have, an even more natural incentive or inclination to throw open the gates to others of their own kind. And this brain drain from importing elite migrants is only going to exacerbate the disparities that create this tension or this migration pressure, by exacerbating the push and the pull factors. So really there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical or opposed to even elite migration, and we should be really cautious about this. And finally, because it is, we're filling up habitat. It says in the Constitution that we want the benefits of liberty for ourselves and our posterity under this, particular Constitution, which that's another topic. And I've spoken about that in the past. Maybe I'll speak more about it in the more in the future. But it says to ourselves and our posterity, right? So if you're filling up our habitat with other people's posterity, that's less room for our posterity. And that's just a simple, ecological, evolutionary faux pas. Filling up our habitat with other people's posterity makes less room for our posterity, no matter how elite they are or whatever. I guess technically, if they're elite enough, they could be positive. Some people, they could make our habitat more productive and therefore raise its carrying capacity, something like that. But there are all sorts of other reasons to be skeptical of elite migration. Because we have enough trouble with our own elites, because it'll exacerbate the pressures and the incentives leading to mass migration in the first place, because these people have a natural incentive to import more of their own so that they can be the head of their own little hierarchies in their own little communities, right? Instead of being an outsider in some sense within our communities and our hierarchies, no matter how successful they become. So for all these reasons and more, elite migration is probably something to be as worried about as any other kind. And there's no reason to suppose that mass migration is a good thing. It may have been a good thing for a while under certain circumstances in America's early history, say, when we had all this land that we were trying to fill up and settle, and we're bringing people from relatively similar backgrounds who are capable of assimilating. That is no longer the case. America is as full as it needs to be, and even if it can get more full, that's room we want for our posterity, not other people's posterity.